Hi everyone, it's me, Legasik, and today I'm unboxing William Basinski's Disintegration Loops. For those of you that don't know, Disintegration Loops is a ambient piece of work by William Basinski, who had recorded a bunch of stuff in the 80s, some like easy listening music, and he'd recorded it on actual reel-to-reel tape. And then during 20 years later, basically, during the September 2001, he started digitizing it, and he found as he was playing the tapes that the actual tape itself was falling apart, all like magnetic flakes and all this stuff coming off. And so literally the tape itself was dying as he was watching it. What's happening at the same time is 9/11 was happening. So he actually started recording, and he went up on his roof in Brooklyn, and he watched as the towers were basically coming down, and the whole time these were being recorded. And the next day he'd recorded actually like the last hour of daylight, apparently, like on the top of his roof. And then the next day he played the first, like the 1.1 off this album. It's about 63 minutes long or whatever, alongside that footage of the sun essentially going down, with the smoke of the towers going into the sky. And so this has been synonymous with 9/11 and post 9/11 and the idea of mortality and death and all this, but in its own right, even without being attached to that, it's a very mournful, soulful, ambient listen, but it's quite repetitive, like drone-like, but it's the idea of life itself, as in almost day by day you're being lulled through almost like the same thing, and there's a melancholy about it. Like the sound of 1.1 itself are these like kind of trumpets that are slowed down and given this like big reverb effect, but it's something that should be like triumphant and all this, and instead it's slow, and it's that slow walk towards death, where by the end the actual tape itself is disintegrating. Now the first time I actually heard this was the Tim Heidecker movie. It's not his movie, he stars in it. It's called The Comedy, and I remember hearing it and thinking it really stuck in my head. And afterwards I went and I researched it, and and found that this was actually the track. I didn't know anything about the story, I didn't know anything about anything, I didn't even know who William Basinski was. And then when I looked into it, I thought, wow, this is amazing. And I listened to more of it, and I was like, you know what, the whole thing's great, and this is very hard to come by. So it was initially released on CD, just like a slipcase, and there were 4 CDs, and the cover is the bit from the video of the towers going down. So there's lots of smoke and all this stuff, and it was just like a CDR, basically. It's like 4 CDRs, and then he released it on vinyl. And anyway, as of today, which is January 2026, I won't say exactly, even though I don't know why I wouldn't say exactly, but I won't, it's now been re-released again in a deluxe edition. So they're usually quite hard to come by, but I pre-ordered this, it's finally come today, so now I'm going to take a look. It's really undramatic. Let's have a look. So I need to be very careful as I do this, for obvious reasons. Take off this at the top. I bought this from Rough Trade, who are generally very good at wrapping their stuff, as people can imagine. And then I'm sure there's a lot of people say, why are you buying it from Rough Trade? Buy it from another indie shop. But I actually had some vouchers to use. And I like Rough Trade, and it's just around the corner from where I work. So here we go. Take this off. As you can see, it's going to be a huge box. And I believe this was like 150 quid. So it's not cheap either. Right. go. The bubble wrap. Let's take this off. And I know there's probably a lot of people out there who are going to buy these to sell on, the scalpers, if you will. Not me. I'm going to keep this one for a very long time because it is very special. I love the music, and I do think there's a lot of people who say that that Basinski's and the whole 9/11 story isn't true. That it just has, what a coincidence basically that was happening at the same time. And like he's done this with orchestras, and he said, I think he's played on Ground Zero, like he's reconstructed it. So people, I think they think it's a bit like pretentious and all this, but regardless, I think it's beautiful. Beautiful piece of work. So here we go. Finally, after all these layers, it's here. There we go. Disintegration Loops, Arcadia Archive Edition, 8 LP box set, remastered by Josh Bernardi, I don't know who that was, forward by Laurie Anderson, open numbered edition. It's a sticker, so I'll make sure I keep hold of that. It's just black. I'm trying to see, it's kind of, you can kind of see, I don't know if you can see it on there, well you can't because you've got the wrapping on. But let's take this off anyway and have a look. But I think you can still see like the cover, the smoky cover, is just not as blatant. If that makes sense. So I'll keep hold of that. Right, see, you can see it a bit better now. It's matte. So you can see the smoke kind of coming up there, and on the back as well. Now this is the thing that most people have a problem about, right? Which I totally get. Like the cover on the CDs and all this stuff is the smoke of the Two Towers, right? And that's what this is. But, which is fine. But the thing is, the cover actually extends further than that, and you can see it here. And what you might not be able to make out, can you see that? You can see it better on the camera actually than I can see it with my own eyes. And this is number 156, by the way. Now, it's a picture of him lying down, and actually like the smoke is kind of going into like his kind of hair and the carpet. And there's something really weird about like having a picture of the Two Towers and the smoke billowing out of it, and then having this like very weird glam look of yourself lying on a carpet faded into it. It's weird, and I think that's why some people have a bit of a problem with the way that he kind of presents this, because it's almost like he's taking advantage of 9/11. I don't know. As I said, like regardless of that story behind it, which is a great story, I like the music as and of itself. People know I love noise music. I make noise music. I'm in a thing called Static. You'll notice some of my works that I've done before. There's a lot of noise in that as well. So I like it, and this is kind of still up that path. So let's have a look what we got. This is William Basinski himself, and this is Laurie Anderson's words. I'll leave that to the end of the video, and what I'll do is I'll read that out so that everyone can hear it, and if you don't want to hear it, that's absolutely fine. And then we'll look at the records themselves. Right, okay, well this is, like I was talking about the picture of him lying down, you're about to see a proper picture of that now, which is this. So that's him, and it's kind of mixed, as you can see here. I don't know if I can, let me try and, I don't think I can spread it out. No. So you'll see that it's like here, that's the Two Towers going down, and that's the smoke, and it kind of fades into him. And it's a bit weird, and I get why people have a problem with it. But still, so got two records on here. It's just black vinyl. I'm not going to get it out. But yeah, I believe there's 8 LPs. Did I think I said 8 LPs of this one? So I won't get them all out, but we'll take a look. So we've got these two, and then this is the cover that I'm used to seeing, which is this kind of like darkness, which is quite nice. and then some more, and then some more. And I quite like that low quality kind of lo-fi aesthetic. I don't think there's anything particularly, I think these are all the same. Yeah. So, yeah, there's nothing else in these. It's just the records themselves. But what I'll do is I'll read out these notes on listening to Disintegration Loops, and by Laurie Anderson. I don't know who that is, maybe I should, sorry. And yeah, take it from there. So some notes on listening to the Disintegration Loops. What is the music that is closest to air? Subliminal, atmospheric, very little foreground, full of sky time, music outside of beats and bars. Music that is close to mantras, meditation, wind, the breath, and Tai Chi. Using repetitive sounds, it outlines a liminal space, a place for one world to meet another. The sound of attention in the present, like a blank page with just a few words on it. Turning, turning. Loops are the way I clear my mind. Sometimes I like to listen to the first half hour of Disintegration Loops on repeat. My breathing slows. I feel the shapes, the negative space the sound is creating, almost like the wind as it blows around objects in its path, defining their shapes, creating ghost pictures. Listening to this, I also begin to feel the shape of the inside of my head as the sound fills it like a huge empty and reverberant room, becoming almost holophonic. When I stop listening and open my eyes, I suddenly have a much wider range of peripheral vision, as if by not looking for things, I've become more aware, less of a predator, more like prey. There are so many ways to listen to the Disintegration Loops. My favourite is driving along the single lane road that runs through the middle of a small spit in the hamlet of Springs on Long Island. I have an old grey convertible that feels like a boat, and it glides along the road that gradually becomes smooth as a river. The best time for this listening is in the middle of a summer night, and the best speed is barely moving. Overhead, trees arch over the road, oaks and maples. The Disintegration Loops sings out from the speakers. When I look up, I see the edges of leaves and the tangle of branches as they form and reform overhead, phantasmagorically. Music as a place. Listening to this music reminds me of a story about an experiment that was supposedly done a few years ago in Bell Labs. In this experiment, a man and a woman sat opposite each other in a room and they talked for an hour. Then they sealed the room and measured how long the sound waves kept travelling, back and forth across the room, gradually slowing down until the particles of air finally stopped moving. This took 2 years. I can no longer remember where this story came from, but even if it never happened, I like to think of it. Music has stopped time. Another story, probably apocryphal, is that the right word? Was about an ancient Japanese pot incised with grooves. The engineers looked at the pot and thought, maybe what we've got here is a three-dimensional record. Maybe when the pot was thrown 2,000 years ago, it worked on the same principle as cutting a record. Maybe as the wheel turned, cutting the grooves into the sounds of the pots being potted got embedded into the clay. Now if only there was a three-dimensional record player to play it back, we could listen in. Sort of like Robert Morris's 1961 sculpture, Box with the sound of its own making. A plain wooden box containing a recording of the sawing, hammering and sanding that went into its making, sound making and unmaking itself. As a young artist, I grew up listening to Phil Glass. We would lie on the bumpy wooden floors of downtown lofts listening to hours and hours of his rehearsals, 8 farfisas blasting arpeggios. I do my best work at Phil's rehearsals, said my friend, the painter and sculptor, Sol Lewitt. I love music that is somehow about the weather, John Cage especially. My husband, Lou Reed, used to stick mics out over the Hudson and record the sounds of the Hudson River. He made this music from recordings of the wind as it swept off the Hudson and called it Hudson River Wind Meditations. Move your heart and find your note. He combined this with recordings of feedback guitars and made music for Tai Chi practice. Tai Chi, which is above all an art form made of circles. When I listen straight through to the Disintegration Loops, it becomes a kind of bardo theatre. As things start to fall apart, to stutter, filled with more and more holes, notes like tattered flags ripped in the wind, a skeleton of itself. It's become a humming. Could this be what dying sounds like? Things become fainter, notes slide, tones swirl, some skitter and skate over the surface. These dissolving sounds, this emptying space, has gained my complete confidence. They're taking me somewhere. Some popping low tones emerge, a kind of humming, an organ note, the colour and density of mahogany. I hang on to that mahogany sound like a raft and hold on as it takes me along. And now, this hum is like a test tone. Everything else circles around this reference tone. I am willingly following these sounds, becoming more and more transparent. And how does it end? The final fade isn't about the end of the music. It's like the music continues and I've stepped out of the river and moved away. The music itself is continuous, always there. Here's something my musician friends know about me. If I'm at a concert I really love, at the end, even before the applause. I stand up and start making my way along the row, bending forward, stepping over feet. Excuse me, sorry, excuse me. I'm moving fast, I'm desperate to leave, like it's an emergency. I run up the aisle and through the empty lobby of the theatre and out into the street. What is this desperation? After doing this many times, I finally realise what I'm doing. I need to get outside to see what this music is like in the real world. What does it mean once I'm outside? Does it make a difference in the way I see the world, the way I move through it? When I hear the disintegration loops, I need to run. The music has created another world, a world to be carried away in. Laurie Anderson, June 2025. So yeah, I think it speaks a lot to that in the sense of, like most art, it's what you're kind of bringing to it. So I guess for a lot of people that it might sound like boring, but for a lot of other people it sounds meditative, and they're bringing whatever's going through their head over the years or on that day, and it's reflecting a certain mood, a certain tone, and it's actually bringing about these certain feelings. And because of the way it goes on, and because of the way it slowly is disintegrating, it is very much this idea that you've stepped into another world, and that you are now aware of the fact that there is an end and it's coming, and the music is taking you there, but yet on it continues. And is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? And as she says, the idea that it's just always there and you're kind of stepping out of it, it does feel like that with this. Like you're entering another like space-time continuum and you're wrapped around it. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of overthinking it, and it is, you know, in reflection of what this Laurie Anderson has said. But for me, I think it's a very, very special piece of work that, even though all it is some old music that's been stretched out and put some reverb on, it's actually through the fact of William Basinski trying or not trying or whatever, it's actually resonated with a lot more people and somehow has engaged people on a deeper level. And yeah, it's an interesting piece of work. So I'd be interested in what everyone else thinks. The Disintegration Loops, William Basinski. Yeah, have a look. He has done a lot of other stuff as well. If you like noise or ambient, then hit me up. I'm happy to do more in that ilk. Please follow and subscribe. I know this is a slightly longer one, and I'm going to leave on some of the William Basinski's music, but it was great to kind of check in and share something like this with you all. And it is might not be the most exciting vinyl release in terms of aesthetics, but music-wise, it really did mean a lot to me, so it's very special in that way. And that's what we're here for, right? So yeah, like, follow, subscribe, all that stuff. I'll see you on the other side.